Hello everyone, my name is Sarathi and I'm happy to meet you all. And today we're going to be playing Branded. Full power Branded. So if you have seen Branded in the Duel Links and you're curious about what it looks like when you have all the cards, there's a lot to tell because Branded went on for like 3 years straight. There are so many branded cards, in fact, that it's not optimal to play a 40 card list anymore, especially since Branded Fusion got put to 1. Instead, we play a grass list where we just play 60 cards and we try and mill as many of them as possible so we can put our opponent at a huge disadvantage. So let's talk about the deck and how we're going to make use of it. For the hand traps, we are playing a ton because we want to essentially make sure that we can cover all of our bases with Crossout Designator. 1 copy of Effect Veiler, 3 copies of Ash Blossom, 2 copies of Mercurier, 1 copy of Fualos. Then we're playing Harpy's Feather Duster, Triple Tactics, Triple Tactics Thrust, Called by the Grave, Crossouts, basically everything except Max C and we're playing Nibiru. Basically everything except Max C, and Imperm, because we want to essentially have our Crossout Designator crush our opponent. And for those of you who don't know how it works, Crossout Designator, declare 1 card name, banish 1 of that card from your deck, and if you do, negate its effects as well as the activated effects and effects on the field of cards with the same original name until the end of the turn. You can only use 1 Crossout Designator per turn. So this deck is not a super heavy combo deck. Branded is so good because it plays really well under Max C that we don't really need to worry about Max C too much. Because of how Branded Fusion works, you can build a reasonable board on your turn with only 1 or 2 special summons, and then you just kind of grind your opponent out. So this is not a super heavy combo deck. That's why it's been tier 3 for so long. It does not matter how many copies of Max C or Mulcharmy Fualos you get. You will only draw probably on average about 2 to 3 cards against a branded player, and they will just build a board that is good enough to survive and then kill you next turn. That's the goal. The goal with Branded is not to negate all your opponent's stuff. It is simply to survive the turn. And they are very, very good at that. Now, we have several different engines here. Let's talk about Despia first. So for the Despian cards, we have Despian Tragedy. This is a level 1 Dark Fairy monster. If this card is sent to the graveyard or banished by a card effect, you can add 1 Despia monster from your deck to your hand, except Despian Tragedy. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 branded spell or trap in your graveyard and set it to your field. You can only use 1 Despian Tragedy effect per turn and only once that turn. So Despian Tragedy is a card you can mill with Branded Fusion. It is a card that you can send to the graveyard with Grass or with Foolish Burial. So you will use its effect quite often, and when you use its effect, you have 2 targets in the deck. One of them is Aluber, the Jester of Despia, and the other one is Guiding Quem the Virtuous. Let's talk about them now. Aluber, the Jester of Despia, is a level 4 Dark Fairy monster. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add 1 branded spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which will usually be your Branded Fusion. If a face-up fusion monster you control is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect while this card is in the graveyard, you can target 1 effect monster your opponent controls, special summon Aluber from your graveyard, and if you do, negate the targeted monster's effects until the end of this turn. You can only use 1 Aluber effect per turn and only once that turn. Yeah, so the ability to negate your opponent's card is pretty decent, and because it's only 1 per turn, that means that when it comes back, you do not get to add a branded card from your deck to your hand. It's just when you summon it on your turn. So this is a fair card. It's a very useful card, and because Branded Fusion is limited to 1, this card is basically a 3 of. This card will draw your Branded Fusion. If you already have Branded Fusion, you can use it to get Branded in High Spirit, so you can use it to get Branded Retribution. And most importantly, you can special summon Aluber with Branded Opening. Branded Opening, discard 1 card, take 1 Despia monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it in defense position. Also, for the rest of the turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except fusion monsters. If a fusion monster you control will be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. You can only use each effect once per turn. So it's important to note that like all of the branded spells and traps have some sort of effect that happens when they're in the graveyard. Either they banish themselves from the graveyard or there's something else they can do while they're in the graveyard, which is why we're playing Grass. This is a great card. Discard a card, special summon your Aluber, draw your branded opening or branded fusion, and then branded fusion while you have a dark monster on the field. You will get good value plays. Next up, we have Guiding Clem the Virtuous. Guiding Clem the Virtuous, level 4, 1500 attack, 1500 defense. This card is always treated as both a Dogmatica and Despia card. If this card is normal or special summon, you can send one Fallen of Albaz card or one card that mentions it from your deck to the graveyard. If a card leaves the extra deck except during the damage step, you can target one Fallen of Albaz or one monster that mentions it in your graveyard and special summon it. You can only use each effect of Guiding Clem the Virtuous once per turn. So, this card can revive all of your fusion monsters, which is pretty useful. And it can also special summon Albaz during your opponent's turn. And Albaz is disgusting. So, Guiding Clem the Virtuous is an excellent card. We played it too, and the primary way that we get it on the field is with our Titaniclad the Ash Dragon. Titaniclad the Ash Dragon is a fusion of Fallen of Albaz and one monster with 2,500 or more attack points. It gains attack equal to the combined original levels of the monsters used for its fusion summon times 100. After this card's fusion summon for the rest of the turn, it is unaffected by the activated effects of any other monster special summon from the extra deck. That is not an activated effect. It cannot be interacted with or negated. It is simply true. During the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there, you can add it to the hand or special summon one Dogmatica monster or Fallen of Albaz from your deck. This effect was okay when it first came out, but now that Guiding Clem the Virtuous has been released, it is the best card. So you will send your Titaniclad to the graveyard, usually with Branded and High Spirits, and then when Titaniclad goes to the graveyard, during the end phase, you special summon Quem, and you use Quem's effect to send Fallen of Albaz from the deck to the graveyard. Then when your opponent summons some sort of monster from the extra deck, you use Guiding Clem to revive your Fallen of Albaz, and Fallen of Albaz will steal your opponent's monster and turn it into Mirror Jade the Iceblade Dragon. Just a really solid game plan that happens to work most of the time. Is that all the Despia cards? We are also playing Despia Quaritas. This is a level 8 Dark Fiend monster with 2,500 attack and 2,500 or Light Fiend monster with 2,500 attack and 2,500 defense. It requires a Despia monster plus one Light or Dark monster. During the main phase, as a quick effect, you can change the attack of all monsters currently on the field to 0 until the end of the turn, except for level 8 or higher fusion monsters. If this face-up card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can add to your hand or special summon one Fallen of Albaz or one Despia monster from your deck. This card will also let you special summon Fallen of Albaz from your deck, or it can let you summon your Dogmatica monster as well. So it's just a great card. Okay. Yes, that is all of the Despia stuff. So next up is the Bystials. So for Bystials, we have Bystial Magnemite. All Bystials have this effect. You can target one light or dark monster in either graveyard, banish that monster if you do special summon this card from your hand, and it's a quick effect if your opponent controls a monster. It's a DD Crow that's better. DD Crow is a good card. If Bystials did not exist, then people would play DD Crow more often. So the fact that Bystials are just good enough is fantastic. If this card is special summon, you can activate this effect, and during the end phase of this turn, add one dragon monster from your deck to your hand, deck or graveyard to your hand, except Bystial Magnemite. So Bystial Magnemite has an interesting application in Branded because since it can retrieve cards specifically from the graveyard, it allows you to replenish your extra deck with all of your dragon fusion monsters that you send to the graveyard. So that is primarily why we play Bystials at all. Yes, the Bystial Lubellion does have the ability to play your Branded Loss directly from your deck, which is pretty decent, but primarily, Magnemite is just such a useful tool for us, especially with Mirror Jade, that we want to play this card, and the rest of them are just gravy. We are playing 3 copies of Bystial Serenir. You can target one light or dark monster in your graveyard, blah, blah, blah. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send one Bystial monster or one branded spell or trap from your deck to the graveyard, except for Bystial Serenir. So, a couple days ago, I talked about Centurion and how you could use Bystial Serenir to mill your Lubellion. That is not what you do in this deck. So in this deck, Bystial Serenir lets you send all of your branded traps from your deck to the graveyard. And like I said, they all have some sort of effect that activates in the graveyard, so Serenir enables you quite well. That's why we're playing 3 copies of it. We are playing the Bystial Lubellion at 2. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand or graveyard by tributing one level 6 or higher Dark Dragon monster. Dark, specifically. That's very important. So you can't tribute like your Lubellion the Searing Dragon or whatever it's called. You can only special summon the Bystial Lubellion once per turn this way. You can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to add one Bystial monster from your deck to your hand, except the Bystial Lubellion, which will usually be your Magnemite. During your main phase, you can place one branded continuous trap from your deck to the field, which will be your branded Lost, and you can only use each effect once per turn. Excellent. Okay, and since we are playing a branded Lost specifically for the Bystials, here it is. The activation of your, this is a continuous spell card. The activation of your cards and effects that include an effect that fusion summon a fusion monster cannot be negated. Also, your opponent can activate cards or effects when a fusion monster is summoned this way. Okay, so this means that your opponent cannot use a card like Branded Banishment to stop your Branded Fusion, or, and more importantly, Ash Blossom. Apparently, people were sick and tired of getting ashed, so they were just like, okay, here is a card that literally stops you from getting ashed, because we understand that if you get ashed, you lose the game. If you fusion summon a fusion monster, you can add one Fallen of Albaz or one monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand. Cool. That just lets you, so that will let you draw your Mercurier, which gives you another negate, which is fantastic. Any other Bystial cards? No. Okay. Cool. Those are the Bystials. Next up, we have the like tiny Springens package. So we have Springens kit. If you have a fusion monster that mentions Fallen Albaz as material, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal special summon, you can add to your deck. You can add to your hand one of your branded spells or traps that is banished, or in your deck or your graveyard. Then place one card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. You can only use each effect of Springens kit once per turn. So kit is very important because kit essentially allows you to take your branded fusion from anywhere and put it back in your hand. Good enough. So if you've already used your branded fusion, if it got banished, if it got, shuffled back into the deck, wherever, Springens kit will give you an option, and you get kit on the board with Rinbrum the Striking Dragon. No, not Rinbrum. Hold on. Which one of these is the one that summons kit? I guess I'm not running it. Oh, it was Sprin, the Iron Glass Dragon. Yeah, I'm not running that. Okay, yeah. So yeah, kit is just a solid card. And you can, since it's dark, you can fuse it off with Branded Fusion and then just kind of revive it when you need to. It's good enough. I thought that I was playing more than one Springens card. That's why I said there was a Springens package. Let's just move on to the branded stuff then. Fallen of Albaz, Dark Dragon monster. If this card is normal or special summoned except during the damage step, you can discard one card, fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from either field as material, including this card, but you cannot use other monsters you control as fusion material. You can only use this effect once per turn. Excellent. So Fallen of Albaz is basically a monster super poly. You have to discard a card, but it's a monster super poly, and that's really, really good. And you can summon it during your opponent's turn like 8 different ways, so this is a fantastic card. Tri-Brigade Mercurier, we're playing this at 2. When your opponent activates a monster effect while you control a fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz as material, you can send this card from your hand or your field to the graveyard to negate that effect. If this card is banished, you can add from your deck to your hand one Fallen of Albaz or one monster that mentions it, except Tri-Brigade Mercurier. That includes your Springens kit. This card searches kit for you. Blazing Cartesia the Virtuous. If you control Fallen of Albaz or is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. Light Spellcaster Tuner Monster. During the main phase, as a quick effect, you can fusion summon one level 8 or higher fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material. And during the end phase, if a fusion monster was sent to your graveyard this turn, you can add this card from your graveyard to your hand. You can only use each effect of Blazing Cartesia the Virtuous once per turn. This card can be used to make, what is it called? Grand Guignol the Dust Dragon. So, Blazing Cartesia is really strong. It's just another fusion card, which Branded actually desperately needed. This was great support when it came out for Branded. And you'll see in the replay how this card can really turn the tide of the game for you. It's another recurring resource, which is also really good. We're playing 2 copies of Albion the Shrouded Dragon. This is a level 8 dragon monster with 2500 attack and 2000 defense. This card's name becomes Fallen of Albaz while it's on the field or in the graveyard. So not in the deck. You cannot use this card for your Branded Fusion if you are out of Albaz. If this card is in your hand or in your graveyard, you can send one Fallen of Albaz or one branded spell or trap from your hand or deck to the graveyard. Apply the following effect based on where you sent the card from. If you sent the branded card from your hand, you special summon Albion the Shrouded Dragon from your hand or your graveyard. If you sent it from the deck, you can place this card on the bottom of the deck. Then if you placed it on the bottom of the deck from your hand, you draw one card. So it either cycles itself or it can special summon itself, and it lets you mill important cards. So this is a good card. It'll work. Then we are playing Gold Sarcophagus. This might as well be a branded card. Banish one card from your deck face up, and then during your second standby phase after this card's activation, add that card to your hand. So this card, you will banish your Mercurier to use its effect to add a Fallen of Albaz card, usually Cartesia, from your deck to your hand, and then, or you can use it to add Springen's Kit so you can draw Brand Infusion if you don't have another way to get Brand Infusion, and then after 2 turns you get your Mercurier to your hand, which makes it a negate. So this is just a good card, played it too. Fusion Deployment, reveal a fusion monster in your extra deck, special summon from your hand or deck one of the fusion materials whose name is mentioned on it. Also, you cannot special summon from the extra deck except fusion monsters the turn you activate this card overall. So not before and not after. This is great. Summon Albaz from your deck, trigger its effect, steal your opponent's monster, fusion summon, super poly, whatever. You can also use it to summon Cartesia, because Cartesia is listed on Great Gugnol. So this card just gives you literally everything that you want. It's excellent. Play it at 3. You can also play this card off of Verte Anaconda if you want to. Brandon White, fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material, including a dragon monster, which both Albion the Shrouded Dragon and Fallen of Albaz are dragons. You can also banish monsters from your graveyard as material if you use Fallen of Albaz as fusion material from your hand, field, or by banishing itself from the graveyard. So as long as you have Albaz somewhere, you can also banish from the graveyard. Pretty decent. During the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there to activate the effect of Fallen of Albaz this turn, you can set this card. That's a weird restriction. Sent there to activate. So remember, Fallen of Albaz discards cards to pay its cost. So this actually lets you recover it if it was discarded for cost, and it's just phrased very strangely. A couple of cards in Branded are like that, just to make sure that you don't lose out too much from the discard effect. Even though the discard effect lets you literally super poly, it's completely worth it. So it's pretty good. They support Branded a lot in this deck. Branded Fusion, the Big Daddy card, we would play this at 8 if we could. Fusion summon one fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz as material from your extra deck using 2 monsters from your hand, deck, or field as material. Only 2. You cannot special summon from the extra deck except fusion monsters the turn you activate this card. You can only activate 1 Branded Fusion per turn. So remember that if you copy this with Verte, that effect does not apply. Even though you link summon Verte, like the turn that you're using the effect of Branded Fusion, Verte is applying the fusion effect and not activating the card, so there's no other restrictions. So you can definitely just take 2 monsters, make Verte, Branded Fusion, send Albaz from your deck to the graveyard, send Verte from your field to the graveyard, make your Mirror Jade, pass the turn. That's fine. This card is excellent. There are lots of ways to draw it. There are lots of ways to recover it. You can draw this with Kit. You can draw it with Aluber. You can recover it with Branded Banishment. You can recover it with Kit. You can recover it with the Tragedy Despia. Like, even though there's 1 copy of this, you'll play it every turn. Super Polymerization, discard 1 card, fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters from either field as material. Neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation. This is to make it better for you to special summon Albaz during your end phase. So there are a lot of cards that, there are a lot of fusion monsters that say, if this card is in your graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can special summon Albaz from your deck. So if you do that when your opponent has no board, well, at least Super Poly can let you do something. So yeah, it's a good card. Brandon High Spirits, reveal 1 monster in your hand, send 1 level 8 fusion monster from your extra deck to the graveyard with the same type that has exactly 2500 attack or defense. Then you can apply this effect. Discard the revealed monster. If you do, add 1 Fallen of Albaz or 1 monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand. During the end phase, if a fusion monster was sent to your graveyard this turn, you can add this card from your graveyard to your hand, but you can only use 1 Brandon High Spirits effect per turn, only once that turn. Importantly, this means that since you can only use 1 effect, It means that if you send Branded High Spirits to your graveyard, and then during the end phase you recover both it and Cartesia, you can't then immediately during the end phase use its effect and discard your Cartesia. That would be really nice, but because you can't recover it and use the other effect in the same turn, it doesn't work like that, even though it's a quick play spell. You will typically use this to put your Grand Wignall in the graveyard and draw something useful. You can also, since you can mill dark monsters, you could also put Titanclad this way. Either way, it's a good card. Branded in red, target one Despia monster or one Fallen Valbaz in your graveyard, add it to your hand, then you can apply this effect. Fusion summon when level 8 or higher fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from your hand or field, but it cannot attack directly this turn. You can only activate one Branded in red per turn. Another fusion card, great. We need as many of these as we can get. Recovering a card and then fusing it off is excellent. And since you specifically target a Despia monster or a Fallen Valbaz, you will usually use this to make Quaritus, which is fine. Branded Sword, one of these. Banish any number of branded spells or traps from your graveyard to special summon that many Ice Blade tokens, which are Dark Dragon level 8s with 2500 attack and 2000 defense. Fantastic. Make 4 tokens with 2500 attack points, that'll get you lethal. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one of your banished monsters that is Fallen of Valbaz or that mentions it, and add that monster to your hand. This could let you draw your Mercurier that you banish with your Gold Sarcophagus. It could let you get your Albaz back after you banish it with Lubellion or with the other one, the light one, or not the light one. What's it called? This thing, Albion. Yeah. So there are lots of ways that you banish cards. So this is the Grave effect is really good. The Trap effect is something no one plays around, so it will win you the game. Branded Banishment. Target one Despia monster or one level 8 or higher fusion monster in your graveyard. Special summon it, then you can apply this effect. Fusion summon one level 8 or higher fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from either field. You can only activate one Branded Banishment per turn. So this card allows you to Super Poly. Again, another Super Poly card. It does mean that you have to have Fallen of Valbaz on your field already, but that's fine. You could also potentially use it. You could Super Poly with to make Despia and Quaritus if your opponent controls a light or dark monster and you revive a Luber, which is also good enough. So this is really just a funny card, and because you can set it with your Albion, you don't need more than one copy. You'll just play it when you need it and not play it when you don't. Fusion Duplication. Target one Fusion or Polymerization, normal or quick play spell in either graveyard. Banish that spell, then apply this spell effect when that card is activated. You can only apply one Fusion Duplication per turn. So you can make Random Fusion, you can make Super Polymerization, you can make Fusion Deployment. So this card is just another reason why Grass is good in this deck. Then lastly, for the main deck, we have Branded Retribution. When a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated that includes an effect that special summons a monster, return to the extra deck one face-up fusion monster you control, or 2 fusion monsters in your graveyard that mention Fallen of Valbaz as material, and if you do, negate the activation, and if you do that, destroy that card. Okay, this is very weirdly worded, but it does, the restriction that the monster mentions Fallen of Valbaz as material applies to both. You cannot return a face-up fusion monster you control that does not mention Fallen of Valbaz. It is either one monster you control that mentions Fallen Valbaz as material, or 2 monsters in your graveyard that mention Fallen Valbaz as material. Again, it's just really badly written. You can banish this card from your graveyard and then target one branded spell or trap in your graveyard, except Branded Retribution, and add it to your hand. So that means you can mill this card with your Serenir and then use it to get back anything that isn't Branded Retribution, like Branded Fusion or Branded High Spirits or Branded Sword, whatever you want. Great card. Okay, for the extra deck branded cards, we have, I already talked about Titaniclad, Albion the Branded Dragon, Fallen of Valbaz plus a light monster. If this card is Fusion Summon, you can Fusion Summon one level 8 or lower Fusion monster from your extra deck, except Albion the Branded Dragon by banishing Fusion materials listed on it from your hand, field, and or graveyard. During the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can add to your hand or set one branded spell or trap directly from your deck. You can only use each effect once per turn. So, being able to set a branded spell or trap directly from your deck is amazing. You can use this to get your Branded Banishment, you can use this to get Branded in red, whatever quick play spell card you want to try and interfere with your opponent's game plan, and then also getting a free Fusion Summon makes Branded Fusion all the more better. Albion is probably one of the best cards in the deck. Mirror Jade the Iceblade Dragon. This card is the best card in the deck. Fallen of Albaz plus 1 Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monster. So obviously you can Fusion Climb using your own monsters, or you can normal summon your Fallen of Albaz and steal a Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monster from your opponent. You can only control one Mirror Jade the Iceblade Dragon. As a soft once per turn, the quick effect, you can send one Fusion monster from your extra deck to the graveyard that mentions Fallen of Albaz as material. Banish one monster on the field. Also, this card cannot use this effect next turn. If this Fusion Summon card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect or by just being destroyed by battle, you can destroy all monsters your opponent controls during the end phase of this turn. Excellent. Very, very powerful card. It's one of the best cards in the game. Play it at 2. It's fine. Lubellion, the Searing Dragon. We are only playing this at 1 because it almost always shuffles itself back. It's a fusion material of 1 dark monster and Fallen of Albaz. If this card is fusion summon, you can discard 1 card. Fusion summon 1 level 8 or lower fusion monster from your extra deck, except Lubellion, by shuffling fusion materials mentioned on it from the deck into the deck from your field, graveyard, or banished cards. For the rest of the turn, this card cannot attack. Also, you cannot special summon from the extra deck except fusion. So Lubellion, discard a card, shuffle back your Fallen of Albaz, and Lubellion, make Mirror Jade. Grand Guignol, the Dust Dragon, fusion of Blazing Cartesia the Virtuous plus 1 light or dark monster. If this card is fusion summon, you can send 1 level 6 or higher light or dark monster from your extra deck or deck to the graveyard. If a monster is special summoned from your opponent's activated effect, except during the damage step, you can banish this card from your field to graveyard, special summon 1 Dogmatica monster from your deck or 1 Despia monster from your extra deck. You can only use each effect once per turn. As a goal, you can use it to summon your... So if your opponent special summons a monster, this card is in your graveyard, you can banish it, special summon Quem from your deck, or you can special summon Quarius from your extra deck, and just punish your opponent. It's excellent. Rinbrim the Striking Dragon. Fallen of Albaz plus 1 Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast monster. When a Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monster's effect is activated, as a quick effect you can negate that effect. Then you can return 1 monster on the field to the hand, and that does not target, and it can affect your opponent's monsters. So you negate one of your opponent's cards, then you send it right back to the hand or another monster back to the hand without targeting. Fantastic. During your opponent's turn, while this card is in your graveyard, as a quick effect, you can target 1 Fallen of Albaz in your graveyard, special summon either that Fallen of Albaz or this card, and then banish the other. You can only use each effect of Rinbrim the Striking Dragon once per turn. Every single way to summon Fallen of Albaz during your opponent's turn that's possible is great. Banish Rinbrim, special summon Albaz, Polymerization with your opponent, make whatever you want. And that is it for the branded cards. Okay, let's talk about the rest of the deck. Harpy's Feather Duster, destroy all spells and traps your opponent controls. Very important when you're going second. Foolish Burial, your targets, it sends a card from your deck to the graveyard. Targets are Despia Tragedy or Albion the Shrouded Dragon, or I guess you could get some value out of milling Fallen of Albaz, but you will usually do that off of your Guiding Clem the Virtuous. So there are a few different targets for this. That grass looks greener. The whole point of the deck. If you have more cards in your deck than your opponent does, send cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard so that you have the same number of cards in your deck as your opponent. This card is limited to 1, but we are playing 2 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust. If your opponent has activated a monster effect this turn, set 1 normal spell or trap directly from your deck except Thrust, or if your opponent controls a monster, you can add 1 card to your hand instead. The set card cannot be activated this turn. So if your opponent has a monster and they've activated a monster effect, you just add grass to your hand, then you play grass and you win the game. Triple Tactics Talent. If your opponent has activated a monster effect during your main phase this turn, activate 1 of these effects, draw 2, take control of 1 monster your opponent controls, or look at their hand and choose 1 card and shuffle it back into the deck. So if you're going second, you will take control of 1 of your opponent's monsters. If you're going first, you'll shuffle 1 card from their hand back into their deck and win the game that way. Mud Dragon in the Swamp. 2 monsters with the same attribute but different types. This is just a good Super Poly target. Garuro, Wings of Resonant Life, same thing. 2 monsters with the same type and attribute but different names. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can draw 1 card and it deals double battle damage to your opponent. So if it attacks directly, it's going to deal 3,000. Good card. Borreload Furious Dragon. Requires 2 Dark Dragon monsters. As a quick effect, you can target 1 monster you control, 1 card your opponent controls, and destroy them. So that card allows you to, like, this is a good fusion target off of Albion the Branded Dragon to try and pressure your opponent. Guardian Chimera, 3 monsters with different names. Must be fusion summoned using only fusion materials from your hand and field with at least one monster from each. If this card is fusion summoned by a spell card or effect, you can draw cards equal to the number of cards used as material from the hand. If you do, destroy cards your opponent controls equal to the number of cards used as material from the field. You can only use this effect once per turn. So this is a pop effect that can activate on your opponent's turn if you activate Branded in red. You do have to use like at least one monster from your field and then the 2 monsters that are in your hand, but you can destroy one of your opponent's cards and then draw 2 cards, so pretty good. Light and Darkness Dragon Lord, 1 light, level 8 light dragon monster plus 1 level 8 dark dragon monster. Must be fusion summoned while on the field. This card is also dark. Once per chain, if a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated as a quick effect, you can lose exactly 1,000 attack and defense. If it does, negate the activation. And then if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can target 1 dragon monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So this is a mandatory effect. It affects you as well. Make this card at the end of your turn, and then negate the first 3 cards your opponent plays. It's pretty good. Then lastly, Verte Anaconda. Pay 2,000 life points, send Branded Fusion from your deck to the graveyard, and then it becomes Branded Fusion. Cool. Alright, that's the deck. Let's take a look at the replay. Okay, we're going first against Labyrinth. Start things off, we're going to activate Branded in High Spirits, reveal Albion. We send the Titaniclad, the Ash Dragon, from our hand to the from our extract to the graveyard. Then we discard our Albion, the Shrouded Dragon, which is a dark monster, and we add Springen's Kit from our deck to our hand because that's the only way we can get Branded Fusion. Special summon Springen's Kit because we have Fallen of Albaz in the graveyard. Add Branded Fusion, send Thrust back. Activate Fusion deployment, special summon Cartesia. Now we'll Branded Fusion. We send a light and a dark monster, which includes the Bystial Engine and Fallen of Albaz. Special summon Albion. Albion effect, banish 2 dark monsters from the graveyard. Fusion summon the Lubellion, the Searing Dragon. Lubellion effect, discard a card to fusion summon, and then as a secondary chain link, we're going to activate Cartesia's effect, because that's a quick effect to fusion summon. So now we can use Lubellion on the field to fuse with our Cartesia to make Grand Guignol, and then Lubellion can still shuffle itself back from the graveyard. So we're not wasting materials by using a monster that could be in the graveyard from the field. Fuse these 2 off. Go into Grand Guignol. Lubellion and Albaz shuffled back, make Mirror Jade. Then from our then we use Grand Guignol's effect, and we send Rinbrum, the Striking Dragon, to our graveyard. We activate Bystial Lubellion's effect, tribute our Albion, special summon it, and use its effect to play Branded Lost from our deck. We pass our turn. Cartesia's effect activates from the graveyard, add itself back to the hand. Opponent's going to activate their Labyrinth cards, pitch 2, to set a Labyrinth spell or trap from the deck. That's a mistake for them because it means we're ready. They set Big Welcome Labyrinth, which is a trap card that has an effect to special summon a monster. So we are going to use our Albion, now that we know this, to set our Branded Banishment from the deck. We're also going to special summon Quem, and Quem mill Fallen of Albaz from the Titaniclad. Set Branded Banishment, pass turn. It is our opponent's turn. They special summon and Cashier Fenrir. We're going to immediately send that to the graveyard, or banish it with our Mirror Jade. The opponent is going to activate Big Welcome in response, and we'll activate Branded Retribution. Shuffle 2 fusion monsters back from our graveyard, negate the effect. Banish. Opponent sets 2. Albion effect again, we're going to set another Branded Retribution just in case they have another Labyrinth card. We return Branded in High Spirits from our graveyard to our hand. Our turn, we draw, we activate the effect of Branded Retribution from the graveyard, return Branded Fusion from our graveyard to our hand, and our opponent immediately concedes. There's no way they can stop this. There you go. So we completely controlled the board from start to finish. We had perfect fusions, we had a great setup, and we did it all without like a Barone or anything. So that is the deck. My name is Rafi. I was thrilled to have all of you with me.